So let's picture this for a second. Your business is finally taking off, right? Sales are climbing, you're expanding. It's all good news. But behind the curtain, things are starting to feel, well, a little chaotic, especially with the finances. It's a super common growing pain, but here's the thing. We're going to talk about how to flip that pain into a serious strategic gain. The funny thing about success is that it just creates more work. All of a sudden, those simple, routine financial tasks that you used to knock out no problem, they're becoming this constant headache. And your team's time and energy, it's just getting eaten up. Instead of looking ahead and planning for what's next, they're completely buried in just trying to keep up with today. So let's just ask the question straight up. I want you to really think about this for your own business. Is your growth actually creating financial chaos? It's this weird paradox, isn't it? You're hitting all your targets, but the engine room, the back office feels like it's sputtering, just barely keeping the lights on. Just admitting that might be the case, that's a huge first step. And if you're wondering what that chaos looks like, well, here are some of the classic symptoms. The thing is, they have a way of snowballing, It's never just one little problem. Maybe you're a bit late on some vendor payments. Seems minor, right? But that starts to strain your relationships. Or maybe there are a few errors in your reports. Well, that can lead to some really bad business decisions down the line. And not having a clear view of your cash flow, that's literally like trying to drive a car with a completely fogged up windshield. We're not just talking about little administrative hiccups here. This stuff can throw a real wrench in your whole operation. Okay, so what do you do about it? You call in the reinforcements, and we're going to look at outsourcing not as just, getting rid of work. Think of it more like bringing in a special ops team to handle some really key financial jobs. Let's start with two of the biggest pressure points that businesses usually feel first. First up is a big one, tax prep. It's so easy to just think of taxes as filling out a few forms, but oh man, it is so much more than that. When you outsource this, you're tapping into specialists who literally live and breathe tax compliance, all those constantly changing rules and regulations. Their whole job is making sure every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and everything's filed on time. Imagine the relief that brings, especially when your own team is already drowning during tax season. And look, this is what that process actually involves. It's not like they just show up on April 14th and filed the forms. An outsourced team handles the whole shebang, from preparing and reviewing everything, to getting all the data organized, and even keeping an eye on compliance throughout the year. What this does is it pulls a massive weight off your internal team's shoulders. And, just as important, it brings in a level of expertise you probably don't have in-house. All right, the second major pressure point, accounts payable, or AP for short. As your business scales, the number of invoices coming in from vendors can just explode. We're talking about a mountain of paperwork. So AP outsourcing is basically handing over that entire super detail-oriented process to pros who do nothing but manage vendor payments, making sure everything is accurate and on time. And if you're thinking, how hard can that be? Well, take a look at this. Every single one of these steps demands serious attention to detail to avoid mistakes and delays. Once you're dealing with hundreds of invoices a month, this isn't just a task anymore. It's a full-time job. Outsourcing just smooths out this entire workflow from start to finish. Okay, so we've laid out the problem and a couple of really solid solutions. So now let's get to the good part, the payoff. What actually happens when you go from that feeling of chaos to being in complete control of your finances? The benefits are pretty immediate, and they're powerful. You know that overwhelmed feeling we talked about? It starts to fade away because your team finally gets its time back. Those annoying reporting errors, they start to vanish because you have specialists making sure everything is accurate. And maybe the best part of all, this kind of support is totally scalable. As you keep growing, your outsourced support just grows right along with you. You're basically future-proofing your finances so you don't hit that same wall again. I mean, this really lays it out in black and white, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the risk. Your cash flow gets messed up, your vendors are unhappy. On the other side, you get the reward. You can plan better, and you build these really strong, reliable relationships with your suppliers. The key takeaway here is that this isn't just about making things easier inside your company. It has a huge positive impact on your external partnerships and your overall financial health. All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you know when it's actually time to pull the trigger? There are usually some pretty clear signs that you've hit a tipping point. That moment where the benefits of bringing in help seriously outweigh the comfort of just, doing it all yourself. So let's ask it again, but this time I want you to really think about your own operations. Are you seeing those little telltale signs that your system is creaking under the pressure? Here's a big one. When you notice your team is spending way more time just managing the process, chasing invoices, entering data, than they are analyzing the numbers to help you make smart decisions. So if you're sitting there nodding your head to any of these points, chances are you're already at, or maybe even past, that tipping point. These aren't small problems you can just ignore. They're basically flashing red lights telling you that your financial engine needs a serious upgrade if you want to keep up with your own growth. So we've walked through the problems, the solutions, the benefits. Let's boil this all down to the one strategic takeaway. What's the main thing you should remember from all this? This is it, right here. The most important thing is to stop thinking about outsourcing as just offloading tasks or cutting costs. It's a strategic move. It's about reclaiming your team's focus. It's about freeing up your smartest people, your most valuable resource, so they can work on the big ideas that are actually going to grow your business. And so I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Just imagine for a minute all the hours your team is currently spending chasing paperwork, entering data, and getting ready for tax season. Now, what if all of that time, all of that brain power, was suddenly free to focus on, I don't know, strategic planning, market research, coming up with your next big thing? What could you really achieve then?